You see my baby?
Yep.
Ain't she pretty? Well, not really, because face only a mother can love.
Tell us the big news about this tractor.
Well, I found this tractor a couple years ago at a show. I knew there was something special about it, or I had a gut feeling. I couldn't prove anything until I went up to the Floyd County Museum a week or so ago and got to digging, and I actually found the negatives that showed this tractor with the engine, this engine being installed in it right there at the Charles City plant. And you can even zoom in on the negative numbers and see the same number on the engine. It's the same tractor. So this is a prototype tractor built by Oliver in collaboration with GM, but ended up back at GM. Ended up in the hands of a GM employee, and it was found at an auction, and then it went through a couple sales and was on Craigslist, and Scrapper almost got it, and then that fateful day in Oakley, Michigan, when I drove by it and they asked me if I wanted to drive it.
That's all it takes. We know that.
They really didn't have to ask. I mean, I was going to do it. It was love at first bark. But now that I've been able to prove it, it's a little extra special now. So.
Okay, and just to back up, when you say you have to prove it or you're able to prove it, were there people who were saying that maybe wasn't a possibility or had been, modified?
Yeah, there were a lot of people that just thought it was a barnyard job, but it was too nice to be a barnyard job. And I also knew it had some characteristics that match a couple other tractors that you'll read about in the next issue. So I just had to prove it. There's always the naysayers, and even myself wasn't convinced, even though I was pretty sure there was something special about it.
But that's also what you do with your job, right? You're a fact checker.
Right.
You always dig deeper.
Tractor forensics.
Tractor forensics.
So, yeah, it is what it is. So, the GM guys are a little interested in this and the blower, because this is a 71 series engine, but it's a 51 series blower, not a 53, 51. And some of the GM guys have been asking for a better picture, so I'm going to yank the hood off this thing and take a closer look.
Okay, let's do it.
So I haven't seen it for a couple of years without the hood on it. It's hard to see on this side really, but the bell housing, because they put the starter right there, they had to notch out the bell housing, and then they've put a tin plate over it. Mm-hmm. Not production by any means, but it's a little greasy. It's a 1956 engine, 56 chassis. A lot of common parts on here and a lot of retrofitting. This here, I'm not real thrilled about this. It kind of leans back a little too much, and it's got this hose kinked pretty good. And you'll notice the standard neck is over here, but they plugged it off because obviously it can't go into there. So this there's a neck here. Very interesting, very interesting.
So this was an experimental tractor.
Yes.
So do we know why, or do we have a assumption why this didn't actually go into production?
I've got two theories. That maybe they were going to offer an option for an engine to go into Super, but it was getting kind of late in the Supers. Well, they had a little bit of time, but maybe as an option going into the 3-digit 770. Or I have a bunch of engineering bulletins from GM that show them putting engines in other tractors, fitting them and then being able to sell a repower kit. They had one for a Farmall M. There was one for a 99 Oliver, the 4-cylinder 99. There's also one, there's no picture of it, but there's a mention of it if they've got one available for the Oliver 900. So maybe this is a repower option. GM was trying to prove their engines were a little more efficient, a little louder, but a little more efficient. And there were a lot of testimonials about guys who said how much money they were saving by using the GM engine. Of course, that's all marketing. But. So it's one of those two theories. I'm still digging. I can't give a definite answer yet, but I'm working on it.
And do we know where this tractor was after it was built?
I believe it went to GM, to the proving ground for a while. I believe it was painted orange there to disguise it, and that's part of the disguise too, is the grill. the same as the other Olivers that I know about that are in the same situation. And then at some point, it ended up in the hands of a GM employee. He worked evidently at the tech center in Michigan, and he ended up with it. And it went on an auction, and then it ended up on Craigslist, and then ended up for sale at the National Oliver Show, and then it ended up with me.
So it's safe to say that its line of owners up until this point had no idea what they had their hands on.
No.
Okay.
No clue.
No clue. And I'm willing to bet you're getting ready to write a story about this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's in the works. You don't want to miss this issue.
Okay. So your intention is to get this tractor back to pristine condition.
Yes. This was on it the whole time, but can you imagine how this would look if it had those nice yellow bars on it? And I mean, you know that song, She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy? This is not doing it for me. But yes, I'm going to fix it all up, have a nice restoration on it, and take it to shows so people can see it, have some before pictures, before when it was at the factory and before as it is now. And believe it or not, this was a loader tractor. This was bought at the auction. When the GM guy took it home, he put a loader on it, Freeman loader. And I've got pictures of it with a loader on it too. And you would never see the engine. You'd never know it was there. We get the pictures.
Now this might be a silly question, but do they make build cards for experimental models?
They do. We haven't found the build card for this yet. A lot of the build cards I went through, it would say experimental on it, and then that tractor would get shipped to the experimental department. I believe this one was pulled out of stock, and the reason I say that is because it had 2 hydroelectric cylinders hanging on it. You wouldn't take a tractor fitted up like that and take it to experimental. Also has a belt pulley on it. You wouldn't need that for experimental. So I think this tractor came out at the end of '56. They probably had it in stock. They were switching over to the 57s. Probably just pulled it right out of the lineup. I just have to find a build card for it.